own Lisimba.
Hi, I'm Jonathan.
And I'm Sophie Hannah, and I want to welcome you to episode 42 of Ethnically Speaking, the show where we discuss everything affecting the UK's highly melanated communities, from current affairs to pop culture and everything in between. Now, today is our last episode with our wonderful guests, my husband, Jonathan, and Lisimba. That's because on Friday, you are going to be seeing some fresh faces on this panel. Now, if you remember, we put out a casting call in January, and our search to find our new host is nearly over. The women who we loved throughout the process, in the interview process, are going to be joining us right here on the show over the next few weeks. I'm very excited. And then we're going to reveal who made the final cut. And in the meantime, you know we always keep it 100, where we're going to be talking about celebrating milestones that aren't marriage. If you don't get engaged, married, or give birth, chances are it's unlikely that you're going to have an over-the-top party, sashes, balloon, champagne toast, tearful speeches in celebration of your successes, but that doesn't make them any less important. There are many achievements that don't require you having a partner, but why does society view marriage as the biggest accomplishment of all? And is there more pressure put on women to reach the marriage milestone than there is on men?
I think that there's definitely more pressure on women to meet the marriage milestone, whether that's by women's other peers or by family members, especially parents. I think partly that may be because of the whole biological clock. You may give guys a bit more freedom in order to, I guess, explore. I think also for guys as well, they say women mature faster than men. I think that's also linked to when a man reaches the maturity of when he can perhaps take a companion on board, and that might not happen until his later years in his life. When I say take a companion on board, I mean being able to financially stable, be in the right mental space to have someone and offer that commitment long term. A friend of mine, I won't name him, he said to me, which I believe as well, he says that as you get older, you get nicer to women. And I think that we guys perhaps have a bit more capacity and more things to offer women later in life when they're a bit more settled. So I guess there's a bit more free reign for guys to pursue marriage in the later years. And in terms of achievement, I think that women. This is just, again, one man's point of view. I like my disclaimer out here. In terms of marriage, I feel that women put more pressure on other women to get married, as opposed to like men really putting the pressure on to get married. And the reason I say that is because I think that, and hey, shoot me, I could be wrong here, but like I think that more men are cornered by women versus men chasing marriage. So I think that more women are putting pressure on other women to be like, why are you not married?
What do you mean by cornering? As in there's more women forcing men or putting pressure on men to get married?
Trapping.
Not necessarily trapping. I think pursuing marriage. So it's women. I think more women are seeking marriage versus men seeking marriage.
I think that's a fair comment to make.
Do you want to go, or should I go?
You go first, baby.
Oh, thank you so much. So, I think I forgot what I was going to say. I wasn't expecting a politeness. Okay. So I guess to like respond to Lisimba, and yeah, I agree. There's a lot more pressure on women. I think one of the first things I would say is there even a positive word for a woman who might be over 40 who is still single? Because like you can be a bachelor and you even get to be a silver fox. Like it's all good as a man. However old you get, like you are still attractive, and like you can still easily, in most cases, at least go for a woman 10, 15 years younger than you. Because just like Lisimba said, as a man matures, he gets more attractive. Like that, I don't think that happens for women. Like a woman over 40 isn't lauded as a bachelor, or as she begins to go grey, she isn't called like a silver, what's a success, whatever. But whatever that is, and I think it's a problem because I think it does put unnecessary pressure on women.
I think, just thinking about it, I can't think of anything that people call an unmarried woman apart from a spinster. Like, I can't think of a term that people use generally that if you say it, bam, you're going to know exactly what they mean. And I really hate the fact that men can remain an eligible quote unquote bachelor until they die. And for example, George Clooney, who got married in his 40s, 50s, he was like, oh, when he found someone, oh, she managed to tie him down. Isn't she so lucky that she got him? And we don't use that sort of language with women. And I think it's really unfair. And I think one of the reasons is because women have, in the past, have been defined by the marriages that they have. It has helped them to move up social classes, or meant that they're able to get protection, or they've moved out of their father's house and now they're looked after again somewhere else, and they don't have to worry about income or whatever. And that's coming down through marriage. And I think that we are still trying to get away from that in a certain sense, to see that a woman who chooses not to be married can make that choice, and it's not because nobody doesn't want her, but it might be a choice that she has made. So I really struggle with that, and I think it can be really unfair on women.
I think that I think that women that I don't want to make like a broad sweeping statement, but you know
what, Anissa's not here. Today is the day, because you've only got me on here to attack. So use up us having another man on the show, Lisimba.
For sure. I think that look, I understand what you're saying about it being unfair on women. I think though that unfortunately, we live in a world where you have the buyer and then the seller, right? So what I mean by that is that, you know, to quote Kevin Samuels, do you know Kevin Samuels? You guys know Kevin Samuels?
Keep going.
I've heard the name recently, but
cool.
I can't put a face to a name.
So what part of what he says, to quote Kevin Samuels, he says like men control the access to relationships and women control access to sex, right? So with that said, you have got you got one camp that is selling and one camp that is buying, right? And what I mean by that, it depends on like, to revert to like what a man wants, right? I see Sophie shaking her head.
Keep going, Simba, keep going. You just have to push through these kind of times.
It reverts to like, let's say, what a man wants and what a man desires, right? And the only reason why a man can still be desirable at, let's say, 50, 60, 70 or 80 is because of he's the buyer, right? So and what I mean by that is that he gets to, if you like, because he's in control of the relationship, whether or not you're in a relationship. Unfortunately, I don't make the rules. A guy will dictate whether or not you enter a relationship, or whether or not you therefore enter to marriage as a result of that. So what that means is that as for a woman, and unfortunately, in order to make herself available to that man, available for that marriage, available for that relationship, she has to be within, I guess, certain parameters. And if she has decided or elected to be, I'm going to stay single, I'm going to stay alone, she's not necessarily going to fall into that desirable category, or it's not necessarily something that will be celebrated because of she's not chosen to go down to the path of being maternal or motherhood or all those kinds of things, because she's chosen to be alone. I'm not sure, does that make sense?
I'm going to move away while Sophie blows. I feel like
I have a whole problem with that buyer-seller analogy because I feel that I feel like it's offensive to women. And I would say if you're the one that controls the sex in this analogy, why wouldn't you be the one that holds the keys to the relationship? If you want the sex, then I'm not just going to give it to you unless I get what I want. Like, I feel like, why can't women be seen to actually be in control? If I agree, if we're the ones who have to really generally want to be game for sex, men are probably going to be game for sex all the time. So I think that from women, we need to see ourselves not as the thing to be bought, but to be the ones in the power position, and don't settle for less than you want or less than you can have if that door is sex that he's looking for or something. Because I understand what you're saying, but I just feel that it makes us feel like women is like commodities waiting around for some guy to want to choose us. And I just feel that I feel like in my marriage, that's the only marriage I can talk about. I feel like it's equally, we see each other as valuable and as having worth, as equally. Hopefully Jonathan feels just like, actually, I wanted to be with Sophie and lock that down because I know that if I don't, some next man is gonna want to have it. And likewise, I'm like, I want to be with him because I like him, but I know I can't let him slip through my fingers. And I think it makes it seem like men are just like, I don't care who it is, you know, whoever it is completely fine because there's going to be one around the corner, not actually seeing for one woman, I don't want to let this one go because there's something special.
So do you think that, okay, cool. So in when you're, I guess, as establishing a relationship, like, correct me if I'm wrong, like, it's like normally the guy that will say, hey, you know, will you be my girlfriend? Hey, you know, do you want to get married? And those two questions, well, I could be wrong. I see most women not wanting to take responsibility for, you know, those kinds of aspects in a relationship.
I think that's definitely the case in terms of generally for proposals, and Jonathan was the one to ask me out, but I don't see myself as someone who is idly standing by. Like, he asks, the decision is mine. Like, him asking doesn't mean that it's a yes. And being in a relationship before we get to marriage, I have a decision whether I want to stay there or not. If I feel like this is something that is worth my time, if we're growing together, if we're compatible, I'm not waiting around for him to propose for proposing's sake. I'm consciously making a decision by staying, this is the person that I want to be with. So I guess what I have an issue with in terms of the analogy that you give is that it seems to kind of take away my agency to be just as much a partaker, whether the guy asks or not.
So I think like any classic film where the guy asks the girl out, obviously the woman has her free choice whether she wants to date this guy or not. And I think when I say that, you know, the guy has I guess control or he's responsible for like relationship, I'm basically talking about a guy of which you as a woman or any woman truly like values, and what I mean by that is that like that guy, when you have like this new thing about like situationships or like the talking stage or we're going out, what have you, from experience that I've seen, I guess from my closest friends or those around me, it's usually the guy that's asked by the woman, hey, what's going on between us now? And dictating the course of the next steps. And that guy can be like, hey, I'm either happy where I am now, or we're going to progress to the next stage. I'm not taking away the opportunity of a woman being able to say, you know what, this is not right for me, or I'm wanting to walk. But I'm just saying that it's more likely and more often than not that those progressions to the next stage of like, okay, cool, we're not just talking, we're an item now, or we're not just engaged, we're not just a couple, we're going to go and get engaged, we're going to get married, normally falls into the responsibility of a man to take those next steps.
Yeah, I get that, and I think part of the reason that is because it's like, you're almost in control of what's more important to the other person. So I think for women generally, and it is a generalization, but my wife jumps on me, they're more interested in relationships. For men, they're more interested in sex. And so like,
I feel like that's a very sweeping statement.
no, it is, but I think that's also why the situation works as it does, because like, sex is easier to get than relationships, and that's the thing.
Sorry, I'm just going to jump in real quick because I feel like you've just articulated what I was trying to say a lot better. And I think just going back to that buying, selling thing, I think because of more women are pursuing a relationship, i.e., that's what they're buying. That's what a guy is obviously therefore selling, right? So then he's therefore in control about whether or not if that relationship is sold, and therefore the reverse is therefore true. If a guy is more interested in sex up front, I'm not saying that, you know, women can't be deeper than that. I'm just saying off the bat, like, men are very visual creatures, that if a woman is therefore, if a man is buying sex, and therefore it's something visual that the woman would have to offer from the beginning. It's not to say that in either direction these things can't get deeper, and they probably would have to in order to lead to things like relationships, engagement, and marriage. Your partner has to offer more, but I'm just saying on the surface level, that's would dictate why the guy would be perhaps in charge of, you know, that relationship, because of that is what the woman is buying.
Yeah, so in that sense, like, both sexes or both parties use what they have to get what they want, which is, well, if you think about it, that's how it works a lot of the time. But I really want to get back to the question though of like, marriage is a big thing, and I've seen various things talking about you know, why you shouldn't celebrate getting married, or why it isn't a life achievement. And I think I just want to put it out there and say I actually agree. Like, getting married isn't a life achievement. Like, I think staying married is a life achievement. So for me, getting married is like saying I want to climb Mount Everest. Like, I could say that and signing up and getting to the bottom, but no one's celebrating me for saying I want to climb Mount Everest. Like, I need to get on with it and start climbing, and as I get closer to the top or whatever, that's what I get celebrated for. But I just wanted to throw that in there as well.
I agree with that as well, because when I think of the word accomplishment, I think of something that has already been done. You usually say I've accomplished something by the end, not at the beginning, not midway through. And I think people seeing it as an accomplishment is because of the way we set it up in society, in terms of, you know, when we always see the films, and like you're saying, Lisimba, when we see the proposals happening, the wedding is usually the end of the film. The accomplishment, they've gotten it, you know, they've tied him down, he's tied her down, and now they're married, and that's where the story ends. And I think it makes it really difficult, I think, for single people, because you will see in action films, drama films, comedies, there's always a love interest. Someone's saving the world, but there's also some hot, sexy woman from the FBI that they also want to get with along the way of saving the world, which has nothing to do with the plot, but we're always planting these seeds of a relationship is important. No matter what you're doing in the world, a relationship is important. And I think it really sets people up to feel like, well, I see it everywhere. Well, I should be going for that too. That must be really, really important. And my marriage, I'm extremely happy in my marriage. Like, I talk about it sometimes, I'm like, I'm just so happy with you. I'm so happy with the life that we're building together. But platonic relationships are just as important. And when we throw away all these other relationships because we're like, marriage is the goal, a sexual romantic relationship is the goal, we really downplay all the other relationships that can be so supportive and so important in our lives as well.
Yeah, I think that's also true. Almost to like just jump on the end of that, like, one of the biggest things which frustrates me in movies is like when maybe the superhero is just about to like save the world, but the person who his love interest is, or or her love interest is in danger. So they go away and something bad happens, but they went to save it. Like, I'm like, no, just leave your love interest. There'll be somebody else. Like, you need to do what you need to do to save the world. But I think that's part of the problem. Like, we get this message that no matter what you do, you are not complete unless you are with somebody. And that's not true. And I know, like, it just seems awkward coming from someone who is already married, but it's not true. Like, I was cool pre-marriage. I was very happy. I felt very proud of myself, and I don't feel prouder of myself for getting married. In some ways, it's kind of more stressful, but I really love you too.
I actually feel very sorry for people that aren't comfortable by themselves. Because of, you know, just watching what's been happening over lockdown. There's a lot of people out there that are extremely lonely at the moment, and some people that feel incomplete without a partner. And I don't, you know, there's nothing wrong with having a partner. I'm all here for you know, marriage. I'm here for relationships. But there are some people that have, you know, jumped from relationship to relationship and perhaps don't know what it's like to be alone. And in this, you know, period, you know, they were just off the back of Christmas. We're just off the back of, you know, Valentine's Day recently as well. There's a lot of people watching everybody's posts. You know how many posts I've seen of someone doing, oh babe, look what they done, and they give a tour of the house and there's flowers everywhere, and it's like, so it doesn't help those people who aren't comfortable being by themselves, but at the same time, those posts, you know, we're in an era where everybody shares everything, right? Those also perpetuate the reason why everybody wants to celebrate all these milestones, and perhaps are not thinking about, you know, the longevity. I'm you know, and also as well, I can't knock it as well. You know, if these are, I don't know the official love languages, but these are the things that make you happy. Again, I can't take that away from you.
Yeah, I think they definitely make you happy, but I think, like, I was really thinking about, like, why we celebrate marriage so much, or even having children and other kind of life events which involve some form of relationship or whatever. And, like, I was thinking about the fact that, like, marriage people get a tax break. Like, there's, like, the marriage tax allowance. And I was like, why is it that the government too are really interested in people being married? And I think one conclusion I came to is, even as a minister, like, I started off single as a pastor and working in that field, and I was on fire. I'm still on fire, and you're willing to do all kinds of stuff, but marriage kind of mellows you, because what happens all of a sudden, you can't afford to take the risks you were going to take before. You can't afford to do the things you were going to do before, just because you are responsible to and for someone else. And I think for society in general, there's almost that benefit, because people are going to be less risky. They're going to be less likely to do the crazy. Like, it's the same thing for, like, footballers. Like, when it comes to footballers or major sportsmen, one of the first things they want them to do is settle down, just because it gives them more stability. It keeps them and I think that's something to think about. That, like, it almost makes you more pliable as well, because all of a sudden now, like, you can't take the risks you may have taken before if you were single, and I think that's another way to think about it too.
And I think personally, Lisimba's very much like that. If I can speak on behalf of you, like, Lisimba is doing some amazing things. He's got some amazing ice creams coming. But if you had a wife, you might not have the ability to put all your time and your effort and your money into that. And you might have someone else in your ear like, well, we don't want to. And I think for you,
someone to look after.
Well, I think something that Lisimba said last time he was on the show, you're like, you know, you're setting things up, and one day in the future you look for a partner and you feel like what you're setting up now is going to make that situation much more where you want it to be. But I think the issue is you also know that actually if you settle down now, there's going to be constraints on you that might slow down the moves that you're trying to make. But that could just be an assumption on my part.
No, I've made a I made a conscious decision to wait, and to just, you know, like you say, set some things up, and I, for want of a better word, exploiting the fact that I have more time, if you like, and I will, you know, come back and revisit, you know, relationships and, you know, possible engagements and those kinds of things when the time is right. I'd be transparent when I move out my mum's house, and I have my own space. Then, yeah, we can look into all those things. But from now, it's really about just laying down the foundations, just working, literally, just like. Sorry, go ahead.
No, and I was just thinking in terms of the question and, why don't we celebrate other events? I think also that those other events, are they even things that men care about? Like, is a man going to care if he stays single and he never has a wedding celebration or an engagement present or a baby shower? Because I feel like these events that require a partner are, again, just get geared at women, because I don't think you'd care if you never had a baby shower. Like,
no, but I think that's also part of the problem. And so just in talking to you about stuff, like Sophie and I have a conversation a lot of the times about like having children, and one of the things which will come up is your career doesn't have to go on pause. Like, and I think that's something to like think about. I think a lot of women are really walking a tightrope. On the one hand, if you pursue your career, that may mean that actually you can't have children naturally, depending on how things go and where you're going and what stage you're at. Men don't have that issue. Like, as a man, I can have children, I don't have to choose between the two. And I think just having this conversation and thinking about it, it's really made me think that like, it's a massive wrench, and I think people are going to look at you in a certain way if you miss out on one massive part of your life because you had to choose the other. And for the most part, I think women, or generally the more supportive choice is to have children. But if you choose a career and then you don't, like, I think it's just really complicated for women in that sense. Do you have any comment to say, woman?
Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Lisimba.
So I just want to ask you, Sophie, just what is more important? And sorry if I'm being direct. You don't have to answer if I'm being too direct.
Listen, but I'm very open. Go ahead.
What is more important? Is a career more important, or is having children more important?
I think it probably depends when you ask me. So if you're asking me now in 2021, as you know, I was to 2021 today. I was left my previous job at the end of last year, and now looking for another job, hoping to start another job soon. So right now, children aren't the priority for me, because whereas I was in the charity sector for 6 years, nearly 7 years straight, I probably would have been more comfortable if I stayed in that previous job to start thinking about having children, because I'm like, I've got all this experience behind me. I'm going to get my maternity leave because I'm at this job. Whereas a woman has to work a year just to get maternity leave. Not just for them to think that you can actually take that time off to look after your own child. And right now, I wouldn't be looking to do that, because I really want to have a career. I want to build up and pursue the things that I'm passionate about and that I'm interested in. So at the moment, not having a baby shower doesn't feel like a big loss to me. And I'm super happy for my friends that want to have children, but that's not at the forefront of my mind. I'm just sad for women who maybe want those things and want a partner to have it with, and they're not someone who wants to, use a sperm donor, and they're not able to have that because they haven't found someone, and then they have the baggage of family and culture and everything else saying it should be happening. And I think it can be really difficult to find a good guy, if I'm being honest.
You don't feel there's a lot of, like, when you say good guy, you think there's not a lot of eligible bachelors out there?
Oh, Lisimba, why is this question more controversial than the last one? I would probably no, I don't think there are. I don't think there are. I think that in my opinion, I think there's a lot more good women out there than there are good guys. And I think the good guys, from what I have seen in my experience, usually get snapped up first. And personally, I say to my friends, and my friends say to me, if I met a guy who was, in his early 40s and he was single and he said, I just couldn't find the right woman, I think there's something wrong with him. there are too many good women for you to say that I've wanted to settle down for the past 10 years and I couldn't find one good woman to I don't believe it. I just don't believe it. I know so many women who are eligible, independent, doing their own thing and aren't with somebody. So, yeah.
Yeah, but I think it goes back to what Lisimba was saying about like what men and women want. So like men's first priority isn't necessarily the relationship. And if they can get what they want in terms of sex without the relationship, most men, to be perfectly honest, will say thank you very much.
What's your opinion, Lisimba?
My opinion is that I think there's lots of great guys out there. I similar to I guess what I was saying earlier. I think later in a guy's life, perhaps he's a bit more ready for relationships than older guys. Just hearing you speak just made me really interested in, I guess, like how, you know, thinking about like a guy staying single and stuff like that. Like for example, like when I was speaking earlier about me, like, you know, just saying, hey, I'm concentrating on my business or what have you. Like when I spoke to like some of my friends about that, we never celebrated it. Like one of them was saying, what are you celebrating? I was like, nah, I'm just working on my stuff. Do you know what I mean? Like, but it's not something like we just, hey, like, you know, it's just not that, you know what I mean? Versus for like, obviously like, for a woman, if she was to say, you know what, I'm taking time out, you know, because there's no eligible bachelors out there, like I think women would rally around to be like, yeah, sis, you kind of do you.
Lisimba, there are so many things that I want to pick up on that I don't think we have time for. Number one, preferences, and are people's standards too high? Number two, the fact that you're saying that you're staying single but you're not staying celibate. I'm just asking the wrong questions, Lisimba, because these are the ones I want to get to the bottom of, but we don't have time. But what I will say is it seems that Lisimba knows a bunch of single, eligible men who have their stuff together. My friends, hold on, because I'm going to get those details for you. But that's going to have to be on another show because we've come to the end. So I want to thank you for watching and listening to Ethnically Speaking. But help us to keep the conversation going. We want to know, do you view marriage as an accomplishment? Let us know your answers down below in the comments. And if you want even more of us, don't forget to subscribe to our email list to get access to Extra Ethnic, which you can get direct to your inbox once a week. If you want a summary of everything we've talked about today, head on over to unitedmelaningroup.com/ES042. The link will be in the description. And if you've been watching us on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, hit the notification bell and give us a thumbs up so you don't miss a single thing. We're going to be seeing you again on Friday, but until then, make sure you wear a mask, wash your hands, keep your distance, stay safe.